The Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Real Doctor Who fans with real Doctor Who opinions.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Doctor Who Podcast, your go-to for all things Doctor Who, from classic era to new, to Big Finish and beyond. I'm your host, Brett, ready to dive into today's fascinating discussion. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the actors, writers, fans, and whatnot moving from one social media site to another with my thoughts on that. The release of Big Finish's final Once in Future release, the Coda, 11 months in the making, and the discussions that have fallen out since then. This will not be a review of that. I look to possibly reviewing that with Liam sometime in the near future. And then we'll discuss the controversy or non-troversy surrounding Season 3 of the new series of Doctor Who, or lack thereof, regarding any sort of announcement. So grab a cup of tea, sit back, and let's delve into what could be the future of Doctor Who and the impact that will be lasting on fans with, whatever. That just totally left my mind. All right, so thanks for downloading and listening. If you are downloading and listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Please email the show at alhambrapodcast@gmail.com. You can tweet the show at at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. All right, so first on the docket, we have the discussion about Season 3, or the possibilities of Season 3 either happening or not happening. Again, controversy or non-troversy, and some of the weird things that have circled around the potential Season 3. Now, way back in June of 2024, it was reported by the Radio Times that Season 3, even though not confirmed to be happening, Russell T Davies was already working on scripts for a third season of New Who on Disney Plus, maybe, who knows, but BBC One most definitely. However, since then, there had been radio silence, there has been kind of denial, and additionally, and what is really quite interesting, is the article that I've seen on numerous, when I did my research, there was that article was hyperlinked from many blogs and websites to now what is a dead site. And so it's quite interesting that the BBC scrubbed the information revolving around Russell T Davies and his potential and writing a third season that was not confirmed at that time. Then, of course, we have, and I think this is quite evident, everybody's talking about the October appearance of Ncuti on the Graham Norton show, where some of his, discussions about the, eventual filming of Season 3. Did they cut it out? And because it's not happening, because there's stuff in the air? I don't know. I think it's an interesting situation. I'm pretty sure we're not. I bet you a Season 16 or 3 or whatnot will be recorded, but all the reports are it's not going to be made until after Season 2, which is going to be kind of interesting too, because again, we've talked about the viewing figures and just how much this new series, this Ncuti 15th Doctor series, has struggled with viewing figures. Now, that it's constantly being said, actually, they're increasing. Well, duh. I bet you if we were constantly monitoring all of the viewing figures, once the iPlayer existed and whatnot, if we could, pull in the numbers from iTunes, Amazon Prime's, purchases and whatnot, I bet you we would also see and be able to add those to those things. But I think the one thing that I find quite interesting is constantly moving the goalposts revolving around figures. It went from being applauded near the very beginning of the Whittaker era in 2018 to now it is not that big of a deal. It's, people aren't watching TV the same way. I feel as though there really hasn't been much difference within a period of 5-6 years. But I think that it's quite interesting that the moving of the goalpost, because again, the 14th Doctor's ratings were pretty high. We transitioned to the Christmas episode last season, which I did not like at all, The Church on Ruby Road. And this season 1, series 14, season 40, I don't know. I'm really having I think there's more to be panicked about there regarding the viewing figures, especially because they said, the viewing figures are down, but they're up in the key demo from what was it, 18 to 25 or at 25 to 33 or something, whatever that demo that they were looking at. But again, you're cutting out a large chunk of the audience. You hopefully that audience continues, and not only continues, but to buy merchandise and whatnot, because I feel as though the BBC is going to still continue to make money off of the Doctor Who brand, regardless of whether it's on air or not. They're going to get stuff from books that are going to be written. They're going to be getting stuff from Big Finish. So you could almost say that them airing, and it'd be interesting to figure out this about the season 1 of Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor era. Did they lose money? Are they going to possibly be losing money in season 2? I don't know, because it hasn't dropped yet. But it'll be quite interesting to see what they are willing to do. And would it be more marketable for them to just have a wilderness years making money on a show that has no episodes, but they are still getting revenue from other sources? So I don't know. I think the hyperbolic situation is it's doomed and it's not going to happen, or prisoner of the moment or whatnot. Or you have the positive toxicity people, which I want to do an episode revolving all around that. I have so many ideas for future episodes. I'd love to hear your thoughts on various things. Please email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open again. But I would really love to hear your thoughts about this, about the positive toxicity. I feel as though people want, okay, this transitions perfectly to my next thoughts, which was the so many people now leaving and from Twitter to BlueSky. And, it's something that has happened previously before. What was it? We had that Facebook threads or something like that people left to, and then they went back to Twitter. Now it is BlueSky. And the interesting thing about it is I saw Louise Jameson on Twitter. She's getting ready to make the move from Twitter to BlueSky. I've seen a couple of other people associated with the Sixth Doctor, Nicola Bryant being one, that are on both, but it looks like she's making it sound like she's moving more closely to BlueSky. Now, the interesting thing about that is nobody should feel bullied, and nobody has, keyboard warriors and whatnot. Nobody should be doing that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen regardless. From what I've heard, from one of the bigger, people that have went to BlueSky, Rob Reiner, who did the Princess Bride and whatnot, he left BlueSky because of all the toxicity of the people already there. And so now he's back at Twitter. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what's going on. I do find it interesting because some of these people are on both, but on BlueSky, they're making fun of the people on Twitter. And then on Twitter, they're just kind of, trying to be all nice and polite. So again, just because you are nice and polite on one does not mean that you are not seen on the other. And I worry the dual social media apps, if one person's persona is different from the other person's, or the same person's persona on a different one, and are you going to be rubbing fans the wrong way? One of the interesting things that I found was, as I was kind of doing some research on this, William Shatner admitted that he's on BlueSky, and he says he's been there for over a year, and he plans on being on both of them, regardless of what he thinks about anybody who owns it or any political person or whatnot. He is going to be on there because he's doing it for the fans. And I think that's what I really hope. I saw, that Big Finish is on BlueSky. I have the show has an account on BlueSky just because I'm just kind of curious to see what's going on there. And just, And that's what I saw. I saw a couple of people who are one way on Twitter and an exact opposite way and super judgy and whatnot on the other one. So, and I think that is actually could hurt the show, could hurt people's actual careers because, you are nice in an area and then castigate all the people that don't think like you or vote like you or whatnot and are lockstep with you. I find that super sad as somebody who just wants to enjoy stuff, just be a fan of stuff, to talk about stuff to every little detail and have fun breaking stuff down. That is what fandom is. And you can agree and you can disagree, and it is okay. Nobody should be attacking anybody for their thoughts or whatnot, because that is wrong. But we are in an era where, basically saying that disagreement is, whatever. All right. So with that, I think that's quite interesting about the whole BlueSky thing and also the people that are leaving that. But the one thing that I am very excited for, and I will be listening to the Once and Future Coda, the final act, because it has taken, like I said, 11 months in the making. We waited for, we had 7 episodes of Once and Future for the 60th anniversary. And now we finally have, on the 61st year, we finally have the conclusion to this. And I have not listened to this. This is not a review of this, but I do find it interesting because on the Facebook audio group, it was a very interesting and compelling discussion, because I feel as though as we look at what the coda represents for Doctor Who fans, I feel as though there could be a divide in the near future revolving fans of Doctor Who, fans of the new series, fans of the Chibnall era, and those fans that don't like the Chibnall era. And so as I found this, as of the day of recording, the 23rd of November, so it just barely came out yesterday. So this is, day of recording 1 day old. The discussion is in terms of the Fugitive Doctor, Big Finish's debut, I already prefer Joe Martin's performance on the audio. Big Finish have worked their magic to no one's surprise. On screen, I wasn't feeling the enthusiasm in her performance, which was likely due to the poor scripts of that era. Now I'm even more excited for the 13th Doctor's era ranges. So the introduction is quite interesting because it has 2 different viewpoints. Actually, 3, I guess you could say. First off, the Joe Martin's performance being stellar, Big Finish doing their magic yet again, and the acknowledgement of the poor scripts of the 13th Doctor's era, leading the 13th Doctor era, or the range for the Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor, to have a positive outlook. Now, I have said, and I'm going to listen to Coda, I have not picked up The Fugitive Doctor. I refuse to listen to it for about 4 or 5 years until I can just have some time away from the 13th Doctor and Chibnall's era. I'm also going to sit out the Call Me Master for the same reason. I will be reporting and giving my thoughts on the whole thing, but there will be no further reviews on it unless it comes from Liam, Legion, or Humphrey. So the thread was a very interesting, there was 73 comments. I kept the most relevant because those were the ones I felt were the most interesting. So on that thread, we have, while I have nothing against the actress, and the little I saw showed she was the best of the Who era, I despise that era and reject it and will not buy the audios connected to it. And that is amazing. And again, that's where I think that is just how divisive the Chibnall era is. He saw the actress, liked it, but the era, the writing, the direction, the Timeless Child is hard, and is hard for, I believe, so many people to get behind. The person who wrote this, started this thread, came back and said, well, they've already improved this era massively just with this, with her. And it continues, I reject the timeless child. I reject the notion of there being incarnations of the Doctor before Hartnell. And that is where this whole thing, and I think that this has legs. I think that Big Finish is going to need to be very careful walking around all of this, because I think fans of the show, true fans that have been there, not, from birth, or, watching episode, the timeless, not the timeless child. That'd be a rough one to be your first episode. The Unearthly Child to present day, especially those of you that have lived through the wilderness years and have enjoyed the Virgin books, the BBC book line that's come from then. Then, of course, you have Big Finish. I feel as though those fans that have been there are the ones that will be making or breaking this line, as well as maybe making or breaking further seasons of the Russell T Davies Part 2, especially because Timeless Child, super divisive, and it's here. It's all in this thread, and it just depends on, I think, what the BBC, what Big Finish, and Big Finish has more to lose than the BBC, since the BBC is government funded, and Big Finish is, a corporation that has great, great talent, but still, I think the talent needs to be focused on not what do they want to do, what do the fans want to do that they also would like to write. And I think that that's really kind of the breaking point of all of this. And so somebody comes back in and says, well, the notion was implied back in the brain of Morbius, so by that reason, you shouldn't have watched anything after that. And Brain of Morbius. And this is a constant thing. We've talked about it previously. It says, when the Brain of Morbius was shown, everyone took those images to represent Morbius. And I've said this on multiple podcasts. You know what? I believe the cast and crew commentary, Terrence Dicks did say that those were supposed to be the Doctor. That's what they said on the production team. However, the fans' theory was that those were Morbius. I think if the fan theory makes the story make sense and it makes the canon a little bit less wonky, then I feel as though you have to go with the fan theory, not exactly what was entirely meant. I think you need to, pivot when things you think want to go one way and they go another way. Like, for example, what was it? There was a TV series that the first season I think was good. The second season, this isn't Heroes. Second season went down the hill and got massive fan backlash, and the production team actually pivoted to what the fans wanted and basically said their apologies. Now that is massive, to basically be like, hey, our bad, sorry, we thought that this would be great, obviously you disagree, we want you to continue to watch the show, we still want you to be a part of the show, so hey, we will make changes to what our plan was. And then, of course, they just bring up within this thread, the Cartmel Master Plan was, something that was going to be similar, written eventually, similar to probably what they basically talk about, that the Cartmel Master Plan would have basically been something similar to what the Timeless Child was going to be. And so on that basis, you're going to always have a fallout with the show. It was when it was going to happen. And I disagree. I feel as though I haven't done I've wanted to do a massive deep dive in the Cartmel Master Plan on one of these podcasts, maybe again, the podcast for another day. But from my understanding, from what I've done, my cursory research on the whole thing is, and this is what one of the people on this thread said, is, the Cartmel Master Plan did not change the first Doctor. Morbius being ambiguous does not mean therefore it was the Doctor. And, you know, and I agree. I feel as though Carmel Master Plan was he wanted to make the Doctor, what was it? If Liam was here, he'd be like, the other, something that was a different, I want to say different entity other than the Doctor. And you could say the Timeless Child is that, but to have the whole Time Lord race basically being genetically altered because of this, girl who was pushed off a cliff and then didn't die, just, changed. I find that, I don't know, not the biggest fan of that. And again, throughout this thread, somebody says that Hartnell was labeled as the first Doctor in the Three Doctors episode. And again, it constantly is going back and forth. This is, rubbish. It's ambiguous. This was the original plan, post-McCoy era. It was always going to happen eventually. It just is unfortunate that we got the ham-fisted writing of the Timeless Child rather than someone better who could have done it more justice. And I don't think it was ever going to, it never had to be. One of the things that Legion has always been consistent about, and I've appreciated about him, is why do we need to explain everything? Why does there need to be, like, why can't we just wonder as fans, have speculations as fans? And one of the things that I kind of think about regarding that is, do we have to explain certain things because, this goes to sequels and spinoffs and, Alien Romulus 1.5, whatnot. I mean, is Hollywood just so intellectually bankrupt that the only thing that they have is to explain why, or do an episode or movie between two movies that, were popular? I haven't seen Alien Romulus. I started, kind of got bored. But it's interesting. Like, there is relatively no new ideas, it seems like. We just barely had Gladiator 2. We're going to have the live action of Moana. We have Wicked, which I would never want to watch on my worst day or best day. Actually, it would be my worst day, probably. I wonder. I apologize to Legion for knocking probably his second or third favorite musical of all time. Anyway, so yeah, this whole thread was talking about, and it really got heavily into canon, which I again appreciate. Thank you, the audio group Facebook listeners, whatever it's called, because the instant canon gets brought up in the Facebook fan page, it is shot down. Oh my gosh, just had a revelation. I'm going to create a fake Facebook account and I'm just going to join that because I need to be in on this. Because I still find it funny that I got removed for a laughy face emoji to one of the admins, but I am, and if any of those admins are listening that are, I will be a part of your group eventually. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but I will be there and I will be watching. All right. Anyway. But yeah, canon is constantly being talked about. It says all the regenerations that aren't the Doctor either. Thirdly, Joe Martin's number is left deliberately vague, which implies that she's one in between 2 and 3, which again is the only way that makes sense for that being the TARDIS. Because again, or the TARDIS is always the TARDIS, but as a police box, if she wasn't slotted between 2, like, how could that be there? It'd be interesting to see if, I wouldn't mind if at one point in time while hiding away from the Black Guardian or whatnot, the Doctor did something and hid away their knowledge or whatnot so that they could be left alone. I would accept that. I actually would. But I don't accept that she's pre-Hartnell, and especially because of the police box. And yeah, Somebody. As much as I dislike the Chibbers era, the Timeless Child was a fantastic idea. Okay, this guy is on something. I love that the rug was pulled from under us and the whole era. So wait, if you dislike the Chibbers era, how do you like this? I think you're a fake Chibber hate fan club person. I don't hate him. I just didn't think that if you go back to a podcast, our previous ones where we recorded and discussed and reviewed the 11th, 12th, and Flux era, I am always looking for the positives. I'm always trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I always got slapped down every single time. Now, I do like that this person says, I'm not listening to the 13th, the Yaz, and the Chibmaster. Oh, Chibmaster. Chaster audios. No problem if anybody else is looking forward to them, but the Joe Martin stuff, I will give an ear to. Okay, so I like that this person, I think he just really likes the Joe Martin era. Or the Joe Martin as a doctor. And again, one of the things that this one person brings up within this thread is Philip Hinchcliffe has stated that the images shown in the Brain of Morbius were early doctors and Morbius. And so I got this. I don't know where this screen, I don't know where they got this screen capture from, but it says, I'm going to guess that this is probably Wikipedia or so, I don't know. But it says they grab hold of the apparatus in the laboratory and begin. Let's see. In the laboratory and begin. The machine display shows Morbius's brain casing head, then his previous face, then the doctor's previous incarnation. After going through the doctor's previous incarnation, 8 other faces are shown before Morbius's brain case shorts out. So again, you could read, and I believe the original production read that as the power of the doctor. Oh, crap. That was the title of the last one, wasn't it? Oh. Anyway, the power of the doctor was able to short circuit the brain of Morbius, but it makes sense. Why would there only be one incarnation of Morbius and so many of the doctor? Again, if it makes more sense and the fan theory is not what was meant, but it actually helps with canon and continuity and stuff like that, go with the fan theory. Let's see. Somebody in the thread said, I skipped the Chibnall era and was fortunate enough to get a refund on this release when they announced it was connected. Interesting. So again, this goes back to what I was originally talking about, how some, like this Chibnall era, this Timeless Child or whatnot, there is a hard line in the sand for some people. Mine is not a hard line in the sand. Mine is like, here's the line. I'm not crossing that for a minimum of 3 to 5 years. And because I need time. And I understand that so many people are saying that it's Big Finish, and Big Finish has proven themselves time and time again that they can fix parts of the show that the TV show, the TV era, the new and the classic have not been able to do. But again, this is the third rail. Big Finish actually decided to grab hold of the third rail and are trying to do their darndest to make it enjoyable for everybody. Let's see. So yeah, he basically says that, he got his refund. The Timeless Child is literally a big part of the Fugitive story. There's no way it won't come up in her stories, in my opinion, be real. So this is people just saying, I'm going to pick up the Joe Martin stuff, but I did not even watch The Timeless Child. I have no connection to Big Finish's stuff. And so it will come up. I think it's going to come up not as big as I think a lot of these people are going to expect. But if we go back to the 10th Doctor and Donna Big Finish audio series, one thing that they kept on doing was they made reference to there's something on your back. And I appreciated that because that was the whole arc of the series 4. And so it had to happen. So I did appreciate, well, at least when those stories happened right after Turn Left. So again, I really appreciated the consistency of the writing from Big Finish, making continuity make sense, and then also, being able to say that this is where this story takes place. Again, I have full, I respect Big Finish, especially since, how they have been able, so diligent to try to fix the mistake with the website, fix the mistake with the app. I'm really, really, you know, they're doing great things. I, I, I almost said if the Queen was going to be, could knight them, but the Queen is not there. That would be a problem if the Queen knighted them, actually. Let's see, So one of the threads says, I'll tell you what, if I was a Big Finish writer, I would be distancing myself from her, from the Timeless Children, as much as possible. And I do agree there. Let's see. Now, continuing on, it says, another person says, connecting to this thread, I've largely skipped the Chris Chibnall era. This was my first experience with Fugitive Doctor. And even though I don't believe in the Timeless Child's backstory, I'm intrigued to hear what Joe Martin's Doctor is like. Again, good point that somebody says it's a good point to jump on for her, and a much better introduction than she had in series 12. That is interesting. And friend of the podcast, co-host in crime, Liam, says, and it seems from the theme at last that we also know where she's going to fit into the timeline. That might put people off potentially. I thought the story was average. The overall villain was totally forgettable. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never come across that villain before, right? Personally, for me, the 4 leads held the story together. All performances from Benny and the 2 doctors and Vienna. Smiley face emoji. And somebody responded to Liam saying, I'm canon biased, so her existence puts me off. Can't help that. I had a special place in my heart for offshoots like Unbound, Valeyard, Unbound War, but not Fugitive. I love this. I better like this. Actually, I'm going to love this one. Okay, here we go, Liam. You got some love for me. Liam responds with, oh God, the less that is said about the Unbound Doctor of War, the better. I really wanted to like it. I really did. But I got through the first box set and then turned to the... I love the fact that me and Legion were right about the Unbound Doctor of War. And we walked away from it, and Liam and Humphrey didn't even get into it. That is just how... Liam says, the first box set, so he got through the first box set, then turned the second box set off after 5 minutes of the story, which I don't think I've ever done in all of my Big Finish 25 years of audio. I mean, and to Liam's credit, he does really, really like A Minuet in Hell, 6.5 out of 10, but he still really likes it, which for me would be like, a C+, a C minus, D+ average. Somebody says, I also found the second box set inferior to the first, though thankfully not to the degree that it hurt my enjoyment. But the very last story, I can't tell you what happened. I mean, I remember it, but since it makes none. Oh yeah, that was the whole Colin Baker in an audio booth in Big Finish being told to, yeah, that was insane. Somebody says, oh, sigh, here we go again with the C word. The canon, the canon of Doctor Who is that there is no canon. The showrunners openly confirm that every couple of years they introduce a new universe. When did they, which showrunner? Who? I will say RTD introduced the Time War so that he could lock off the Time Lords because he was redoing the series. You had Stephen Moffat, who was trying to fight to get the Time Lords back into the series. And then Chris Chibnall, with no imagination or whatnot, decided to basically, break all of what Matt Smith and or the 11th and 12th Doctors era were doing. And then we have the Flux that destroyed and ravaged. The Earth is still ravaged. You still have, instead of Russians, you have Centaurans. Like, those were not undone. The Toymaker saying that he turned the Doctor's timeline into a jigsaw pile is the latest in a long line of reasons. Canon is all of them and none of them at once. That's an interesting perspective. I disagree. I think I will accept canon all the way through series 11. Is not as enjoyable as that is. I think, is that my line in the sand? Either my line in the sand is that, or my line in the sand is the Pandorica opens. Like, I think that's the line in the sand. And anyway, this person says the Time War was this. Yeah, I had already covered that. It says, if you don't like something, it's fine. Time can and is rewritten all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Until it's not. Until it, erases a story and causes upheaval on Twitter. For example, like, what was it? Bearing the lead here, but according to some of the things that I've seen, like, John Barrowman is never coming back to Doctor Who, ever. Like, that audio recording with the 10th Doctor, and David Tennant and John Barrowman probably will never be heard by anybody not in Big Finish. It's so interesting. So yeah, I disagree. I think that there's certain things that can happen that you cannot undo. They're going to have to kill off Jack, or they're going to have to, he's going to have to, he couldn't get a new face. Like, it's like that Ralph Dibny with the Flash era, when, the actor was, got in trouble for something he said as a 13-year-old, even though he was a 27-year-old man at the time, and then had to be removed from the Flash series. They basically had to show him being kind of like maimed and blown apart, and he walked across the scene, and then we never saw him again. So unless we can start doing some of that to some of this Timeless Children crap, I think that this is going to be really a divisive storyline revolving around the Fugitive Doctor as well as the Saskatchewan's Master. And as I've discussed previously, the Saskatchewan's Master is going to be the storyline of how he became so insanely insane, and I just don't care for it. I think if he would have been able to play it more Delgado-y, I feel as though if he was able to portray it as the Sims Master in season 10, I really liked the Sims Master in season 10. I thought that was fantastic. That's who it should have been the entire time. Let's see. In regards of her status in canon, I have a theory that the Fugitive Doctor, along with the Timeless Child, only exists because the toy maker making a jigsaw out of Doctor's history. Thus, the backstory doesn't exist. Ooh. But only as part of a new, possibly separate history. That's interesting right there. And again, going back and forth, do not care. As long as I enjoy what I want, I don't understand why you have such an issue of what I consider canon. That, again, so I like that retort too. If I can enjoy it, why do you matter what I consider canon? And that is where everything is getting so, and I feel bad for Big Finish, because if you ignore the Fugitive Doctor, well, you're ignoring potentially, and I hate saying this, but the first female Black Doctor. And that, social media wise, is a hard thing to pass up. Could you have moved over Sasha Dewan? Yeah, but you already had him in some audios in Big Finish. And I bet you it was just like, that's fun. We've breathed life into the Derek Jacobi Master. I think we could do something with that. And I do appreciate that. And somebody says, laugh out loud, public social media. Do not post if you do not want people to comment. What? He doesn't mind you comment. He minds being told that you have to like it. And he just said that the one person I said, I can enjoy and consider canon what I want. You're right. He did post it on a social media thing, but it's almost like, well, you have to like it then. Somebody goes back to Liam and says, it's not necessarily. It's the last part of the 60th anniversary story. It might have just been a nod to the same way that they have done before. If the theme tune is a reason people turn off, and I don't know what the theme tune is, I'll have to check that out also. Then they need to have a word with themselves. First couple of years of Big Finish, Doctors 5, 6, and 7 had the wrong theme, but by this logic, they would have refused to listen to that. Yeah, but that theme is the better one. So, I mean, anyway, I don't know what the theme for, it's probably, I'll tell you, my favorite theme, besides the classic one, the third Doctor theme, is the eighth Doctor theme. I love that eighth Doctor theme so much. The first time I heard it when I was driving and I was listening to Storm Warning, I was almost mesmerized. And that is not a good thing to do while you're driving, is being mesmerized by a theme coming from your iPod in a car on the freeway. Just not safe. But I was mesmerized by that first theme. I don't know. I think people are going to want it both ways. They're going to want to like the Joe Martin Doctor, and there's going to be people that aren't. And I think this is going to be just a free Doctor Who drama day, celebrating the 61st episode, 61st episode, 61st year of Doctor Who with a free download of the 5. I was promised that the only way to get those were through subscriptions, subscriptions, and that would be your free choice. I was promised that. I will tell you, I did pick up my free part of the 5 Doctors. 4, was it 4? 5, 4. Yeah, 4. The 4 Doctors, because I noticed that the runtime for the one that was released as this, and maybe it was, I don't know what they included, the runtime was about 8 minutes longer than the runtime for my original purchase way back in 2011. So I had to pick that up. So yeah, I will be picking up the Doctor Who story of the day again for this free cast audio of the 5 Companions, which is a good story. It'll be kind of interesting to see if this is, so this is 66 minutes. I wonder what the actual runtime is for the other one. Let's see. I'm just going to try this. 5 Companions. All right. Okay. So the free one is that one. Subscription exclusive is, if I go here, 77 minutes. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm going to go 4 Doctors because I thought it was the other way around for the 4 Doctors. I thought, okay, so for the exclusive subscription, the duration is 77 minutes also. And for the promo, no, the promo is, oh no, that's just the promo is 81 minutes. So the free one that they just barely released for the whoopsie poopsie, for the, the app's not working, the free one actually has more time in it compared to the one that I got there. So it's interesting that with the 5 Companions, the promo one is at 66 minutes. And the subscriber exclusive is 77 minutes. So that, interesting. All right. Well, color me intrigued. Yeah, I think I'm going to end that right there. I will tell you, Big Finish is really I think really trying to get a 61st celebration sale going, because they currently have these flash sales of Jago Lightfoot, Countermeasures, Torchwood Soho, which would be pass, the River Song. So I like that they are really into celebrating Doctor Who as best as they can for as long as they can, to give fans that are new to Big Finish an entry point to some of these worlds of Doctor Who. Again, Diary of a River Song, first box set is good. Some of them up and down. Torchwood Soho, never going to listen to. Countermeasures, I don't think I ever gave it the time of day. I know I got the first 2 box sets, but I don't think I ever really gave it the time of day. Of course, Jago and Lightfoot is fantastic, except for the audio book that took so much of my time to listen to, that Liam gifted me. Anyway, that being said, I think I'm going to conclude this podcast for right now. I appreciate you downloading and listening to the podcast, spending some time with me on whatever day you happen to be listening to. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything that I've said regarding the Timeless Child, regarding the Doctor, the Fugitive Doctor, regarding so many other things. Email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. Until next time, I will see you in time.
You have been listening to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Doctor Who is owned and trademarked by the BBC. Doctor Who Alhambra is not affiliated with the BBC or Big Finish. No infringement is intended. Visit our website at alhambrapodcast.weebly.com or email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA Podcast. Thank you.